What's up, pod pals? It is your buddy Adam, and you are listening to Podcasting and Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their show like a hobby and build it like a business. And today we're doing a very special podcast audit episode with my good pod pal Hugo from the 1% in Recovery Successful Gamblers and Alcoholics Stopping Addiction podcast. That is a very SEO friendly name, and I've chatted with Hugo about this before, and he made some really key upgrades to that. So I'm proud of you, man. So welcome to the show. I'm excited to talk about the new brand and how things are going.
I appreciate it, Adam. Always excited either to do a podcast or talk about recovery.
Yeah,
I say
man.
recovery is beautiful.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So you bring a lot of positive mojo online to the podcast. So always welcome to have you and collaborate. So let's talk a little bit about the show. And I want you to kind of paint the picture over the next 6 months. Like if things were just cranking, they're ideal with the growth, with the engagement, monetization, things like that. Paint that picture for me 6 months from today.
6 months from today is just exactly how when I first started conversing with you is that I'd be up at least a thousand downloads per episode, and that would also because within my podcast, selling one item, which is a combination package, my online course with coaching, that there would be consistent sales with that. I assume about, at least about 10 grand, 10 to 15 grand a month selling those packages. So the package, combined as I did the boot camp, realized I used to just sell. So the two big things that changed for me before I talked to you is the old name, lifeiswonderful.love, which was the company name, but like when we talked, had no SEO
Right.
value. So I immediately changed that at the end of the year. So starting January 1st, I had a new year, new name, new logo. And then through the boot camp, I wasn't just selling my course for $555. I combined it with the coaching because I noticed the first couple people that bought the course also then wanted coaching. So why not that be the signature
Yeah.
item to sell combined, since the coaching I get it as a discount, so it's $1,200 over 12 weeks, just as one session a week, because I go through one step a week. So we're doing one step, three questions a week plus one session. So the 1,200 plus the 555, so it's 1,755.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's where, and so that those were the two big things. So I've changed that. Now the big thing is increasing download growth.
Yeah.
That's where I'm kind of focused on, and kind of also focused on what you also had said. So I guess one other things we can talk about is aligning the episodes with whatever I am selling. So the
Yeah.
content, so it kind of goes really hand in hand. So it puts me in as that expert
Yeah. Yeah.
person.
Okay, so first off, I got to pat you on the back for making these two upgrades. And we did a discovery session. I was like, man, I really think you should change the name of your show. And we were kind of going back and forth. It's like sometimes it's like tennis. I hit the ball in your
Yeah.
court, then you smash it back at me like, no, I don't want to do this because my whole brand is around this. I'm like, no, but that doesn't matter. And we kind of volleyed back and forth. And then eventually you're like, you know what? This does make sense. And man, I think it was like within like 3 days you had changed it. I was like, man, this guy is an implementation machine. And you're like, yeah, I got the brand switched around, did it all, good to go. And so that was impressive. And the fact that you kind of comboed a little bit of this and that to create this nice, robust signature offer, like that's a great price point to operate in. Now, like these people are going to get better results because they got the Hugo factor in there with the coaching. So I think those are two awesome upgrades. Let's talk a little bit about what you said there as far as aligning the content with the offers. I've got some ideas for you around this, and I think it'll work well in your space. So the way I think, I'm like, all right, here's the offer where we want to get people going. What can we do to activate them a little bit? And I hired my friend Jan Ditchfield to really teach me this concept. She's been on my show a couple of times teaching this a little bit. But we're like, all right, what is the free challenge or the lead magnet or the thing that perks up the ears that gets the right people interested in going a little bit deeper with me for free before they dive into the actual paid challenge. So, like, is there some sort of a 3-day challenge, 5-day challenge, 1 week challenge that you think I get people into that, and then I get to interact with them for 3, 5, 7 days, whatever it is, and level them up, build relationships, and then that topic kind of springboards to where we convert a higher percentage of those people into my signature offer. And doing these periodically is really going to help, because selling direct from the podcast can be challenging, especially as we're getting going. A lot of shows don't naturally have expert positioning until I get a hold of them, then I make this happen. But like, so that's kind of step number one. I'd go, okay, what is this mini challenge or this activation period that I could do for free? And what is the topic of that springboards into my offer? And then I go, all right, what is the content I could talk about on my show that leads into that activation period, that free thing? So, what core topics will I be discussing, or what are like the appetizer morsels that I could put out there on my show? And then I could advertise the free thing. Like, I'm not even going to talk about the paid offer yet. I'm going to go for 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and I'm just going to promote this topic that we're going to do on this free challenge. So, for example, if I'm going to like go, all right, I'm going to do a free challenge about building lead magnets, because a lot of podcasters really struggle with building their email list. So I'm going to do a free 3-week build your lead magnet challenge. And so for 3 weeks before that actual challenge takes place, I'm going to drop content on building email lists, email marketing strategies. I kind of work around the topic tangentially. And then it's just that topic is perking up the right people's ears. I'm advertising the free workshop as my call to action, loading people up into that. Now I've got an active, captive audience. I can show off, I can, interact with them, level them up, and then it's going to convert at a higher rate as far as getting people into the actual offer from there. Maybe you do a little bonus kicker with your signature offer. They get a bonus half an hour with you for signing up during this special workshop period or whatever. Or they, something, you send them a life-size autographed cardboard cutout of Hugo, with the old basketball uniform on. I don't know. Like, you do what you got to do. But that's kind of how I would operate, with aligning the content into the free session that elevates relationships, that converts into sales. Is that making sense so far?
Yeah, now I played basketball in the '80s, so we had the short shorts.
Yes.
So that gets, especially with the women, I could get that extra little, "Oh, look how cute he looks with
Look at
those
those
long legs.
legs.
Look at those legs."
So, what I mean,
No, okay. Well, no, I'll add to. So I'm gonna take something that you promote. You have this podcast growth scorecard.
yep.
And I went to business school, and a lot of things, one of the things that they taught in business school, and then a lot of these Fortune 500 companies, they talk a lot about metrics. And they talk a lot about scorecards, performance scorecards, whether it's sales, performance, whether you're doing critical reviews. And so I'm in with a lot of different, whether it's gambling Facebook groups, alcoholic Facebook groups, just addict Facebook groups. Now they really are really stringent on promoting. But I go in there, periodically. I know I have to go in there more, but I was also thinking I don't want to be too pushy.
Right.
But so taking a step out of all that from the business world and from you, and because a lot of people that go into these groups are always talking about relapse. How do you get 7 days? How do you get 20 days? How do you get 30 days? Well, that falls straight in line with a recovery scorecard for free. So give you 5 points if you, let's say, chair a meeting. 1 point if you just actually show up and sit down and listen. If you do like a daily meditation. And so I think, kind of like what you said, up to try to get people to do like almost like 50 points a week, you're going to have stronger recovery. And that
Yeah.
way, then you get to live your best life. But then as they start doing that, I can keep checking in. Hey, are you on track? What are you doing this week? Because in the beginning, it almost needs to be, baby people, because they're very. it's not so much that they don't want recovery, is it's easier to do the known than the unknown.
Yeah. Well, that last point that you made, I think, is the key. I am a big fan of scorecards as a lead magnet for anybody, but I think they work really, really well in the personal growth space, which I think you would fit in that space, like the health, wellness, personal growth. You fit under that umbrella because there is an overload of information. There is an overload of action steps that we could take, and for the most part, people are not very organized about it. They kind of just try stuff. Like with like a weight loss journey, they're like, I'm gonna try this diet, and okay, and then I'm gonna try this diet, and then I'm gonna do this workout, and they're just randomly adding pieces. So if you create clarity and go, here are the things, here are the higher value things based off of points. I need you to hit this amount of points per week or per month or whatever, and then work to improve this, and you are gonna see tangible life results. I think it's really smart, man. It's easy to do. You're going to, get a really nice lead magnet. And again, the whole idea is this perks up the ears and the eyes of your ideal clients. And I mean, my podcast growth scorecard leads to a lot of clients for me just by building, I built out an email funnel and things like that off of it to kind of keep the nurturing sequence going. And then I put things out there. But I think this would be a really smart idea. Now, how are you as far as, do you feel comfortable with like creating an opt-in page, email funnels and things like that? Or do you have somebody that you can lean into that would be able to help you out with that?
Well, I sell my course on Kajabi,
Okay.
and so I'm assuming, I don't have like, I have a website. So I have two websites. I have my Kajabi website, and then I have the lifeiswonderful.love website, which hosts all my other material that's free. So it's got my YouTube channel, which I have actually the 47th free video, which is obviously just more like marketing, just on addictions or steps or, just things that relate to it. And it connects to all social media. So I just need to, I just never had anything fully done. I did two videos on trauma, one like types of trauma and hints how to overcome trauma, but I've never released them because I didn't have a good format. And so that's I'm thinking. So I had now that with these three things, two videos plus a scorecard, and maybe try different ways to build up that email list, or
Yeah.
as well as just people connecting more.
Yeah. Now, the beautiful thing about Kajabi, I am a big time Kajabi fan. I use Kajabi for everything except for scheduling appointments and hosting my podcast. Although I do have a private podcast hosted on Kajabi. So the nice thing about Kajabi, and if anybody out there listening wants to try Kajabi, I got a sweet affiliate deal that I can hook you up with a free trial. But they have this funnel builder. So you can go in to the little funnel building area and select email opt-in. And they've got a template to where you're going to have the opt-in page already built out. You just fill in what text you want. You can swap out images, but that goes to a thank you page. And this is exactly what I did for my scorecard. So I've got the opt-in page. I'm like a podcast growth scorecard, put a few enticing tidbits on there. They do the email and name. They hit submit. The next page is called a thank you page. That's where the button is. It says download your scorecard. And they click on that. That way you can attach your scorecard right to that. And it kicks out an email sequence. So you can just go, you can see the emails, you can type them out and go, oh, I need to add another email at day 5. I need to add another email at day 7, or whatever you want to do. So you can type it all out right there, have it all, so it all talks to each other. Like I knocked mine out in a half a day, just building it all out, filling in the blanks, and Kajabi makes it super easy. So that is something that I would strongly consider with this, because man,
Okay.
it's just slick. You're going to build that email list. You got the automated email funnel just built into it. And it is so simple to do. That's why I like Kajabi, because otherwise you would have to have a service where you can host your opt-ins, have an email marketing like CRM. You got to have all
Right.
these different things talking to each other, and Kajabi just does it all right there. So
Right.
big Kajabi fan.
Right, I agree. Except for podcasts, I remember I was on Buzzsprout before, and then I switched over everything to Kajabi, and they make it so much more difficult to host a podcast on Kajabi, even though you can do it. And so I eventually, I've kept my podcast on Kajabi because it's just part of the monthly fee.
Right.
But I went back to Buzzsprout
Yeah.
because they make my life so much
Yeah.
easier. Just
Buzzsprout's
getting
good.
for like doing sound bites or just posting, getting everything out there cleaner. Uh,
Yep. Yep. I agree. That's a true statement. Okay. So now we got that content alignment piece into something free, into our offer. Let's look at the expert positioning. How are we doing with solo episodes and or like mentorship style or coaching style episodes? Have we been ramping those up at all?
well, I do solo, so I do 2 episodes a week. So I unload a solo episode that could be anywhere from 7, 8 minutes up to about 12 minutes, where I'm just talking about a specific topic. Like this past one was the gambling industry likes to say gambling is entertainment. And so the title was Gambling is Gambling, Gambling is Not Entertainment. Just and then
Nice.
I just kind of talk it about what is the true nature behind them wanting you to think it's entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, part of the whole expert positioning is based on the number of years that I have in both programs. As been walking the whole thing about alcoholic for over 25 years, the gambling stuff for 22 years, and then I talk about and I let people try to judge me and say, look, I know more than anybody else. I talk a lot more, and so I'll give a lot of free game out, kind of like what you do.
Yeah.
Privately is you give out a lot of free game, you allow yourself to be judged, and then people say, "Oh, he knows what he's talking about."
Yeah.
So, but then I don't bring in a lot. I mean, the people. Then I drop an episode where I'm interviewing someone. It could be just a former addict, or it could be like I had 2 weeks ago a doctor, a psychologist from UCLA. Before I had one guy from Indiana, but he was talking more about opiates. The guy from UCLA was talking more about gambling. I had someone that was supposed to come in from the UK that they talk a lot about the advertising. It's just an organization. So I try to bring in different groups. I just haven't been able to really, I think I was trying to build up the email list before I brought in more of the coaching style
Yeah.
episodes. But I'm open to it because I do think that those are very effective.
Yeah. So I think there's some different herbs and spices we can mix in here for expert positioning. One of them, like if you're dropping these consistent solo episodes, one thing that I think would be kind of cool is either at the beginning and or at the end, drop a like client or listener testimonial in there. Like, I love Hugo's show because of XYZ. Here's my favorite episode. You got to check it out. Or I worked with Hugo and here are the results that I got. And what I like just layering some of that in there. I think that helps level up our expert
You mean
positioning.
within the podcast?
Yeah, within the podcast audio. So like at the
Okay.
beginning, before the show starts, or even like you do a little intro and be like, and I got to shout out my client Jane. She just did the blah 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 blah. Here's a little audio clip from her. And like I've spent the last 12 weeks with Hugo and we are able to do this and this and this. And it's like a little 60-second thing. And like if you want to explore working together, make sure you hit me up at blah blah blah. And you just kind of like lead into that and then let's start the show. Or you could do it at the end. Like I like doing I call them fan favorite episode recommendations at the end of a show where it's just somebody that listens to your show and they're like, my favorite episode of Podcasting Business School is episode blah, 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 because of blah, blah, blah. And they get to kind of, for me, they shout out their name and stuff because they want promo, but for you, they probably won't want to do that. They'll just be like, hey, I'm John from Boise, Idaho, and my favorite episode is blah, blah, blah. And that's nice expert positioning because somebody new listening to the show, that just is a different level of a recommendation. If you go, hey, if you like this episode, you should check out episode whatever. And that feels like we're marketing to them. If somebody else that's a listener goes,
Right.
you got to check out this episode, that's like seen as more like heartfelt. And they made the effort to do that because they love your show so much. And they're more likely, like if we can get a new person to listen to multiple episodes, that's a really good thing. Like that's how we get them really into our stuff. They're going to see that impact. So I would look at doing that. Testimonials are always great. I mean, you can never have too much of that. But I would look at any way you could do mentorship and or a group meetup style episode. And you obviously in the recovery space, we got to kind of finesse that a little bit. Like if you do a group thing, it's got to be light. Like it can't be I mean, it can't be like, let's get into the trenches and really like cry it out.
Mm.
And because you're not going to get people showing up for that. But if you can just be like, I don't know, even like community wins or quick 60-second question back and forth, or just something that you feel like would be an easier to digest topic for people that want to show up in a group format and produce content with you. Maybe they have advice for people that are just getting started or something like that, and they're able to contribute tips, and it's not really getting into their own stuff. But maybe that's a segment of it where you go, okay, so maybe this is something where you've got a topic and you're going to do 45 minutes and you invite 5 listeners on and you teach for 10 minutes on this topic. And like in your email marketing, you're like, we're going to be talking about some segment of gambling recovery or whatever. And you teach on that topic for 10 minutes. Then you have 5 people come on and they give their advice, like their 60-second tip of what they've learned, by experiencing this and starting to overcome it or whatever. And then at the end, you could open it up and be like, all right, does anybody have any other topics they want to bring up? It's just kind of like open recovery Q&A. And then those 5 people can fire away if they feel comfortable doing that. And then if not, we got to be ready for something else. So like we got to have that like break glass in case of emergency topic. But something like that could work. Any thoughts on that initial idea?
Yeah, it work. Just need to just get just generate some people that just want to come on that specific hour.
Yeah.
Just trying to coordinate. Seems like more coordination. A lot of people expect. Well, so you get a couple different things. So you want people early on want to, or maybe a little more hesitant.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the people who, have certain amount of things to say, just gotta, make sure that they don't talk too long because then they
Yeah.
start to
Yeah.
they go from sharing an experience to trying to preach.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to have some rules. Like when I do my podcast or speed dating on my Pod Pal Zoom parties, I'm like, hey, we got 60 seconds. Then I start playing the Academy Awards music, and you got to get off that stage. So so something like that usually works. But I think that's good. And if you could figure out a comfortable way to invite listeners on for one-on-one mentorship, um, I think that would be special. If you could figure that out, that would be amazing content. Even like a 15-minute focus session of like, all right, what is the problem at hand? What is the number one thing blocking us from really gaining momentum in our recovery? Let's talk about that. And it's just kind of like a quick hot seat session. So that would be awesome, but you got to figure out how to make people comfortable with taking that step. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right.
Uh-huh.
But that, in my opinion, is the number one thing. If you can unlock that door, that's going to level up your expert positioning in a huge way. And then we're going to start converting those people into being clients of your signature offer, but also more people that listen to your show, they'll start converting over. They'll make that jump naturally without doing a one-on-one session with you. So I would spend some time looking at that and go and maybe asking people that you're already working with, be like, hey, I really want to start bringing people that aren't my clients onto the show for these 15-minute momentum sessions, but I need to be conscious of them probably being hesitant to coming on a podcast and talking. I would just go out and farm ideas a little bit with current clients, past clients, social media, maybe like an Instagram story poll or an email poll going to like, what would make you want to come on the show and discuss what you're struggling with, or just get a boost from me for 15 minutes on the show. What's okay, what's off limits, and just farm for ideas. And maybe you can come up with something, because like I said, if you can unlock this door, holy cow, it means it opens up so much expert positioning, and it's going to help tremendously. So,
No, I know. I think, well, there was a couple ideas there. So one of the things is also trying to do some IG live with other people in
yep,
the recovery space that are already on IG or something, and trying to
yep,
get them to see that it's beneficial for both.
yep,
It was like saying, "Hey, you're not here to help me. We can help each other." Because a lot of the people that are on whatever social media are trying to push their own coaching or their own course or their whatever else that they have. And I'm saying, look, there's so many people that are addicted that there's so much. It's almost as like if we help each other, we both eat more It's not like I take from you or you take from me.
Yep.
And so
I agree.
that's one of the things I was trying to do, as well as, and I've noticed. So I was getting about, before the year, I was getting anywhere. It's actually, unless it was the very first 5 episodes where I got like 50 to 70 downloads, it seemed like I went back down. I was getting 30 to 40 there at the end of 22. I've noticed here, especially when I brought in guests, I was getting high 60s, low 70s. So things are getting better. On my solo ones, it's a little bit better, closer to like up to about 50. But I've noticed that was the other thing, is trying to bring people in that have some amount of following, whether in meetings, or because that's the other way. The good news is I can actually physically go to a 12-step meeting here in Houston and find different people, or people that I know,
Yep.
get them on the podcast, and then they start telling their friends. So this is,
Yeah.
because it's hard for me to just stand up in a meeting and go, "Hey, oh, don't forget to listen to my podcast."
Yeah. 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 That
so,
could get
but
weird.
uh, but so, I talk to people after a meeting, but that's the other way that I'm trying to
Yep.
grow, kind of like the whole grassroots thing. You just
Yeah.
got almost like bang on to just
Boots on the
start a
ground,
book meeting.
man.
Right.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that's my other kind of like marketing tool, which I know it's kind of different than what other people can't just like walk into a, like, let's say, to a Lions club and go, "Hey, I do marketing for all the
Yeah.
different people at a Lions club."
Yeah. I think you're smart, man. I mean, use
Uh,
what you got. Use what you got. So, well, I think we got some good ideas brewing here, and I know you're a man of action. I don't doubt that at all. So I'm sure I'll check my DMs here in the next 24 hours. Be like, yeah, I did this and did that, and I already got this cooking. Maybe have your whole funnel built out or whatever. So,
yeah.
dude, I appreciate you coming on the show. Where do people go if they want to find you, man?
Lifeiswonderful.love. Just go to that website. You can also, when you go into products, it'll hit straight into Kajabi if you're willing, if you're already in that space. But if not, you're trying to test me out, goes straight into also goes straight into the podcast. Or if you're just already on audio, you can just go to 1% in recovery and go straight into the podcast and start listening to some downloads, as well as, if you want to
Yep.
add a rate and review, do whatever you want to.
Go check them out. Go check them out, Pod Pals. All right, Hugo, I appreciate you, man. Everybody listening in, if you want to be just like Hugo and come on the show for a podcast audit, head on over to podcastingbusiness.school. Get signed up today, and we'll have you on the show. And with that, I will send you out into the world wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We will see you next time.